Podem començar ja, no? Sí, hola, bona vesprada, benvingudes, benvinguts. Volia començar, abans d'explicar un poc la sessió d'aquesta vesprada, donar les gràcies a l'IVAM per haver organitzat aquesta exposició d'En Rebeldía, Narracions femenines al món àrab, i volia donar-li les gràcies al director i també a Sandra Moros, que acaba de parlar i que s'ha encarregat, diguem-ne, de totes les coses relatives al muntatge de l'exposició. Bé, vaig a presentar-vos a les dues convidades d'aquesta vesprada, a Rula Halawani i a Nadia Benchallal, i vaig a fer-vos una xicoteta introducció pel que fa un poc a les seues trajectòries i a continuació elles explicaran un poc les seues obres d'una forma un tant comprimida perquè evidentment són molts els elements. Do you get a translation? No. Well, this is just an introduction.
Well, yeah, I hear my name.
Aleshores, us deia que faré una presentació curta de les seues trajectòries i després elles parlaran, diguem-ne, del seu treball i farem preguntes, jo mateix i vosaltres, evidentment, espero que també ho pugueu fer. Jo crec que pel que fa a Rula Halawani no es pot entendre el seu treball sense Palestina. Tot el seu treball està totalment relacionat amb el seu país, a la ciutat en la qual van néixer, a Jerusalem, però també a altres llocs de Palestina. És fonamental Palestina per entendre la seva trajectòria. Ella es va formar a Canadà, va fer estudis de fotografia a Canadà i també després a Londres, a la Universitat de Westminster, i temps després va decidir encetar uns estudis de fotografia a la Universitat de Birzeit en Palestina. Té ja una llarga trajectòria, un llarg recorregut, ja ha exposat, no vaig a llegir-los tota la llista d'exposicions que ha fet, però mencionaré algunes significatives. El seu treball ha pogut veure's a la galeria IVAM de Beirut i de Dubai, també s'ha vist el seu treball a galeries de Londres, també de Brussel·les. De fet, recentment, m'ho explicava a migdia quan estàvem dinant, que algunes de les seues obres es poden veure en aquests moments al Palestinian Museum que s'acaba d'inaugurar a Birzeit. Bé, la seva obra es pot trobar en algunes col·leccions importants, com el Centre Pompidou de París, com el Victoria and Albert Museum de Londres, British Museum a Londres també, la Halil Shoman Foundation en Amman, Jordània, etc. I aquesta és la curta introducció que faig de Rula Halawani i a continuació us presente a Nadia Benchallal i després ja deixo que parlen elles. I Nadia Benchallal, que la tinc a l'altre extrem, ella és franco-argelina però va néixer a França. L'any 91 va encetar uns estudis de fotografia al International Center of Photography de la ciutat de Nova York, i volia mencionar un element molt important que de fet va ser cabdal per a la seva presentació aquesta vesprada, i és que ella l'any 92 va començar a fer tota una sèrie de fotografies, un projecte personal sobre la vida quotidiana de les dones algerianes. I aquest projecte, de fet, per exemple, aquí en la nostra exposició veureu que la seva obra tracta justament dels anys 90, uns anys molt difícils a Algèria degut a les guerres civils que van començar al principi dels anys 90, que van durar pràcticament fins al començament del nostre segle. Després aquesta sèrie la va continuar en altres llocs i això jo crec que li ha permès viatjar i conèixer altres països, sempre de la perspectiva de les dones. El projecte de fet es diu Sisters, germanes, parlava un poc de la germanor entre les dones musulmanes de diversos països, no tan sols Algèria, sinó també Bòsnia, Palestina, Myanmar, Iran i d'altres. La seva obra ha estat mostrada a Abu Dhabi, a Nova York, a França, va rebre un guardó molt important a França, que és el Visa d'Or a Perpinyà, i ja dic que la seva trajectòria ja té un llarg recorregut. Això pel que fa un poc a la presentació, i ara, sense més, ja vaig a donar pas a Rula Halawani, que ens ha portat un bon grapat d'imatges, no crec que les pugui ensenyar totes, però vaja, anem a veure com ho fa. Gràcies per haver vingut i endavant. Whenever you're ready.
Yeah. Hello.
You have to press down there.
Yeah. And the slides.
Okay. Is it working?
Yeah, but how do I enlarge them? How do I start?
I think you have to, I don't know how to do it.
I don't know.
We need a technician. Un técnic o una técnica.
No, if you press on the first one, up, all the way. Hello, everybody. Thanks, Juan, for the introduction. I would like to start by showing my early work. When I finished high school, I went to Canada to study there. My father wanted me to study medicine, and I never wanted to become a doctor. So I studied mathematics and physics, and towards the end of my BA, I discovered photography, and I liked photography very, very much, so I decided to become a photographer. After graduating from Canada, I did 2 BAs, one in math and physics and one in photography. I went back home, and when I was in Canada, I wanted to become a photojournalist. That's what I dreamed to become. So I came back home, and I started my career as a photojournalist. In the beginning, I became a freelancer, and then I became staff for Reuters. From the beginning, it was not an easy job for me. I could never feel like I could never leave my feelings on the side and act as an outsider and just document what I see in front of me on film. I felt always like I am part of the story, and this story is part of me. So I would come always home, and after a funeral or after witnessing somebody being killed, and I would scream, why would they die? Why those young, beautiful people die? The life of the people are much more important than this land. And my father, of course, he would always tell me, you were very smart, you should have chosen another career. I never wanted this career for you, so you put up with it. And I continued following the news. I didn't want to give up. And I was shot twice, but it was not a serious injury by the Israeli army because they didn't want me to take pictures. I was lucky that it was not a serious injury. So I continued as a photojournalist, and in the early 1990s, the peace process started between the Palestinians and the Israelis. I wanted to give I wanted to give peace a chance. So I was so happy that the peace process started. But then all of a sudden, I realized that the peace process is just on TV, but on the ground, the settlements are increasing, and the confiscation of the land is also increasing, and the killing is increasing. It is just was not a serious thing happening on the ground. But I continued with the news photography until this incident of this young boy happened in front of me. He was a 16-year-old boy. I met him on the streets of Hebron, of the city of Hebron, and we kind of became friends. I like young people, and I like to talk to young people. He came, and he started throwing stones at the Israeli army. There was a huge clashes because of land confiscation in the area. And when I saw him, he came up and he was shot in his leg. Then I learned that he was fine. I was so happy to see him, that his injury was not a serious thing, and Palestinians took him away. He came back, and he started throwing stones, limping in this photo on his leg, and he started throwing stones. And I was so scared. I was so worried about him. I loved the boy. And then all of a sudden, I heard such a loud sound. And I looked around, and I turned around. I took this one single picture. I turned around, and then he was dead on the ground. He had a bullet in his head. And after that, I went back to Reuters' office. I resigned from my job, and I decided this is not what I want to do in my life. I can't just watch kids being killed in front of me, and my camera is not doing anything, is not helping anything. So I wanted to do the story in a different way. I wanted to tell the story of Palestinians in a more developed, personal way. and I quit photojournalism. After that, I just took pictures of the daily life of Palestinians. I enjoyed that. I didn't know what to do with the pictures, but I took pictures until I discovered my way, how I want to continue with my photography. Some of them were fun pictures, some of them were beautiful pictures. I enjoyed seeing people like practicing their religions, whether they're Christians or Muslims. I enjoyed watching my people like being happy. And that was enjoyment for me, but it was not what I wanted to do with my photography. But anyways, I continued in taking photos. And then I decided in the year 2000 to do my master's in photography in London. So I learned how to work more in depth on a project, and that helped me a lot. Helped me. So I started, I learned how to work on story in depth, how to work on a subject in depth, how to tell the story of me and my people in a different way than the news and than what we see on the news. I have chosen a couple of projects to talk about it because there isn't much time. I'm not going to show the ones you see in the museum. I'm just going to talk about other projects. I choose 4 projects. This project is titled Irrational. It's about the settlements, the Israeli settlements in the heart of the West Bank. To me, settlements are the biggest obstacle to peace and the biggest obstacle to the Palestinians to live free in their land, because Israelis build settlements every day and they expand settlements every day. They're not leaving anywhere for us to live or to exist besides, the wall, the apartheid wall, and the checkpoint. So the life is so miserable. With every project, I experiment with a lot of cameras. I experiment with a lot of film, and until I find the camera that I feel and the film that I feel it's gonna make the project look very, very strong. This is a Lomo camera. It's a Russian camera, and it uses 4 pictures. It talks about the story of the settlements. In this picture, I talk about the tree, how they uproot the olive trees from all over Palestine to build their settlements, and the roads, you can imagine what in my pictures, I like the people to get involved and they imagine what they want to say. Of course, with every picture, I mean a story and I mean something. This is it can be the road to peace. This can be the road to the settlements that all over. And I took those pictures while I was driving from the window of my car. And they talk about how the settlements are eating the land, and they talk, they're existing and they're expanding. In this picture, I erased the settlements in this picture, but of course, in reality, they are still there. But I wanted them to erase them in my own photographs. This project, I'm jumping from 2004 to 2015 because there isn't very much time, but I have chosen 4 projects that I really like. This project, I did it in 2015. It's titled For My Father, and it talks about the changes in the landscape in Palestine from my memories as a child. And I devoted this project for my father because my father was the one who always took us as children everywhere, and he always wanted us to learn about Palestine and about our country, and he put so much love in us to our country. And I did it in a letter to my father that I wrote, a letter to my father. My father, of course, died 7 years ago, but I wrote him this letter, and kind of virtually. And with this project, I use infrared filters to, I don't know if you're familiar with infrared, like it gives this mood. And the pictures are shot in a very, very long exposure. I just went to the places that my father used to take us all the time. And the pictures, like every picture, talk about something, some different story. Like this, for example, like to me, talks about how people cannot reach, how they vanished. Like when I was a child, whenever we went to this place, there was a lot of people from Gaza, from all over the West Bank. But now because of the checkpoints and because of the wall, they cannot reach there. So every picture tells a story. And this is a depopulated village. And this is the borders with Syria. My father, like I remember when we were children, he took us to Syria, and from Syria he told us part of Syria is occupied by Israel in 1967, and we went back. He took us to the borders, and he showed us from Palestine, Syria, Palestine's like occupied Syria. He showed us Syria on the other side. He was so careful, like to show us all of those places. The pictures are very dreamy, like, and they make you think of the land. And of course, they are very, very long exposure. And of course, you see in the pictures like Israelis who replaced the Palestinians. And this is one depopulated village. I remember when I was a child, my father took us to this depopulated village, and we swam in this pool. And when I went back to take the pictures, there was just only Israelis swimming, and there was no Palestinians. And so on. This is Jerusalem Calling. It goes with sound, but I don't know how to do the sound.
Do you want to move to the other computer over there?
I will try. Those are radio artists, Palestinian radio artists. They existed in the 30s, before the existence of, yeah. I don't know. No, it doesn't. Actually, it goes with sound, and it's the original sound. I don't know why it's not working here. There's a technical problem. Like you hear the original sound that those radio artists, the idea behind the project is the British mandate. It created this radio artist so the Palestinians don't get involved with the politics of the moving of the Jewish from Europe into Palestine, and they get busy with the music that they hear on the radio station. But the artists, when it became serious in early 1940, they started to go against the British and to use the radio station and to broadcast and use, to make the people aware of what's happening in the country. So the Zionist movement bombed the station, and then it was moved to Ramallah, to another city in the West Bank. Anyways, like I invited the radio artists virtually to come back to their city, to Jerusalem, to play their music. And their music is very, very beautiful. So I wanted them to come back and to bring the old good days back to the streets, to the sad streets of the old city of Jerusalem. Too bad you cannot hear it, but it's okay. Do I have time to talk about this? Okay. This project, I was very lucky that it was sponsored by the Sharjah Art Foundation, the government of Sharjah and the Gulf. And at the same time, I got an award, fellowship, residency to work on it in France, in Cassis, at the Camargo Foundation. And it was a very, very long project. The title of the project, the bride is beautiful. The bride is beautiful, but she's married to another man. And what I mean with that, I will go back to it once I'm done with the project. The idea came to me. I heard on the news that a woman from Rafah, Gaza, the border with Egypt, the Israelis have put very heavy machines, X-ray machines, you know, the ones that they go round. Those are very harmful for the body. They remove them from all over the airports. They place them for a short time, then they remove them, but they still use them in Rafah. This woman had a problem with the heart and she had battery, so when she went through this huge tube, she ended up being in hospital. And another story, an American woman, her doctor told her not to go through those machines because it will harm her baby. She was pregnant. I wanted to do something about this X-ray machines that they use them, the Israelis use them on Palestinian. Then I thought of different ways how I want to do it. Then I decided I want to do it like to get a film and to damage the film with the X-ray, and then use this film to symbolize what happens, what damage happens on the body of the people who go through those machines. And then I damaged the films and I photographed the checkpoints. Those pictures are huge pictures, like there is 6 of them. But what happened while I was taking pictures at the checkpoint, from one checkpoint to another, the checkpoint to me became, it is just like the ghettos we have in Palestine. Like each checkpoint became like a city to me, like surrounded by the wall and the checkpoint. You know, everywhere we have huge checkpoints, we have the cities surrounded by checkpoints and the wall. So I imagine the checkpoint became like the whole Palestine, the whole cities in Palestine all over. So I dealt at the end with the checkpoint as the ghettos that Israelis are putting us in the West Bank. This exhibition is going to be exhibited in the Gulf in October. And the exhibition is kind of 3 chapters, and it is exhibited in 3 rooms. The first room goes into, you know, like the ghettos or the X-ray films. And then the second room goes, I did portraits of the Palestinians who come out of the checkpoint. You know, like when Palestinians come out of the checkpoint, I damaged also the film. Like I showed like how Palestinians like come out of those checkpoints, out of those ghettos, if you want to consider them the cities, how they come like scared. You know, when people come out, I just place them against the wall and I just make portraits of them. And the portraits are big also, like very, very big, and they go in a room. I didn't put their names or anything. It is just like they are Palestinians, symbolize the whole Palestinian society. And in this project, I used 3 different cameras and 3 different films. And for the last part, I wanted to show in a room by itself how our life was in the year 1900 before the occupation. So I took archival pictures from Matson collection on the internet, and I showed how our life was before occupation. This is all from this American Matson collection. I put the pictures on TV and I photographed the TV. And this one, this part goes like this on a huge wall by itself. Okay, now we'll go back to the title and we are done. The title, The Bride is Beautiful, but she's married to another man. I wanted like a title for this project, like to be in depth. While I was reading about the history of Palestine from the Palestinian point of view and from the Israeli point of view and from the Zionist point of view, which is like the Zionists are the Israelis, I don't know the difference. But anyways, I discovered like everybody like in our world thinks like Israel existed in 1948. Israel existed or started to exist, and the British and French worked on it. I don't want to say names, British and French, but it's reality. It's in the early 1900s, exactly in 1882. And Rothschild and Herzl, the fathers of the Zionist movement, they sent in 1882 two rabbis from Europe, from Basel, to Palestine to see the possibility of how they can like build an Israeli state there. The rabbis reported back to Herzl and Rothschild, the fathers of the Zionist movement. They told them, the bride is beautiful, but she's married to another man. They meant Palestine is a very beautiful country, but there are people living it, and they are planted in its soil. So you can never remove those people and create your state. It's not easy. And until today, they couldn't do that. We are still there. Thank you.
Si os parece, antes de que le hagamos preguntas a Rula Halawani, vamos a pasar a Nadia Benchallal, que ya también ha traído un conjunto de imágenes.
Where's the presentation?
I have no idea.
No idea, also. So anyway, I just want to thank IVM for putting up this exhibition, and especially to Juan and all the people who worked, Sandra, I'm sorry. And thank you so much. The exhibition is beautiful. I saw it before. So my name is Nadia Benchallal, and I'm a photographer. I study photography in the International Center of Photography in New York. Many years ago, I'm checking. I don't know if I will do two things at the same time.
You can use that remote
okay.
control.
Here? I have to push here?
Yes, here.
Okay, thank you. Many years ago in ICP, when I was a student, I went to the library and I discovered a book. This book was about a photographer who was Marc Garanger. He did a book on women of Algeria. And I was really, really astonished about the portrait of this woman that I saw on this book. My friend, my American friend, was saying to me that, but you are French, but French with this name. This is name. Your name doesn't have like how you say is not French. So I had to explain that my parents came to France in the early 50s and set up their life in the south of France, and I born there. So and suddenly I was really confused about the situation because I was feeling myself as a French, and by discovering this book on Algerian woman made by Marc Garanger, I decided to be really, really to interest myself about the situation in Algeria. So I organized the first journey after the study that I've been doing in ICP, and I went by boat because my parents arrived, in Algeria with a boat through Marseille. So I did this journey backward in a way. So I arrived to Algeria by this boat, and actually I took this photo, but this photo was taken when I returned to France. And I met this young woman in the boat who was going back, but at that time, you have to remember, it was 20 years ago. So this woman was wearing a short and was really, really traveling and going back home, and suddenly a man came to us, and I've been asking to her why she was dressing like this. And this little girl, I'm telling this story because it's very, very important and it's very significant about the work that I've been doing on women for many years. So, and this woman looked at this man and she asked him if he was a father, if he was his brother or her husband. And suddenly this guy turned around and went away. So I'm going to show you, for like almost a period of almost 10 years, I went back and forth between Algeria, Bosnia, Palestine in Gaza, Iran. But I focused my attention in Algeria for many years, because when I arrived to this country, I didn't know this country. As I said, I born in France, and I went to Algeria when I was 8 years old. And I went back for this project on women because I felt that women were the most important and significant transmitter of what is the tradition, the culture. And I arrived in Algeria during a really difficult period. It was the terrorism period for 10 years, and but I was, at the same time, I was not cautious about the situation, you know. It came little by little because it was 1992 and the situation was not really calm politically, but it was starting just I can say that it was just, the conflict was just starting. So, and I think for me, what the most important things was during this period was very dense in a way, because the journalists couldn't come to Algeria at this period because they weren't allowed, and the government, the Algerian government wasn't giving any visa, but also in the other side, the magazine wasn't sending any journalists there. So it was really, really a tense period and very difficult. And because I was, at this time, I was like a Franco-Algerian and I had the both passport. So I could go to Algeria as I want, you know, by not asking for visa. So it was, this work was possible because of this situation. If you want to ask a question about the photo, don't hesitate. I want to stop in these images because these images was very interesting. When I arrived to this, I met the woman wear the jilbab, this long black veil. I met her in a haunted house, you know. And she was really open and really kind, and we talked a lot. And suddenly, it was about time for her to go back home. And I wanted to come with her to her house. And she said, yes, but next weekend you can come to my house and I will introduce you to my family. And the next weekend, she gave me the address and the telephone, and I go to the place, and I met all this family with this young woman where, you know, wearing, her name was Karima, and she was wearing this hijab, actually, this jilbab. It was really, really, really Islamist veil, in a way, in Algeria at that time. And all the four women who are in this picture are her sister. So her father didn't want her to wear this veil, but she was going against the will of her father. And all the other three sisters, one of them, you can see she's really wearing westernized clothes because she is not into, I mean, she was really a Muslim woman, but she's not into dressing like her sister. And actually, in this picture, for me, what is really, really important is the division that you can see in Algerian society. Today, still. So this picture represents really the division that there is in the society, but also into the family. And this is another picture because it has been, and it goes with the other picture that was just behind, but I will explain how I took this picture. This picture was taken during a competition of Miss Algeria. At that time, you have to remember, it was really, really difficult to travel, through Algeria because there were a lot of fake, how you call that, fake barrage, I don't know how you call that in English, fake, they were stopping you, all over the places. So it was, and sometimes the terrorists were dressing, with military or police clothes, they had this attitude, and they were stopping people. So those women came, and for me is where how I call this project on Algeria, the silence resistance. Those women, during this really, really difficult moment of this country, were coming from all over the places in Algeria, from the south, the north, the east and the west, by bus, by taxi, by car, just for this competition, to be the most beautiful woman to be selected to represent the beauty of Algeria. And it was for me an amazing moment, because Algeria was very, very in a bad situation at that time. People, there were a curfew, people weren't coming out as they want, and they couldn't get out after a certain time. It was very, very difficult moment, and there were like terrorist attack all over the places. And this is another picture that I want to talk about because I wanted this picture. I dreamed about making, a picture on a hammam, but I didn't want, to be shocking because the body, it's really something that you don't show, in a way, in those culturally and traditionally. So, and I went to a wedding 10 days before taking this picture, and the bride invited me to come to a celebration. They invited all her best friends and her family to go to the hammam. And I asked her if I could take a picture there. And she said to me, you can take the picture you want, but the thing is, nobody will allow you. And I said to her, okay, let me try and let me test it. And I went there and I just get undressed, and I went to the hammam like all the women, and suddenly I found a situation where nobody was taking care about me in a way as a photographer, and I had a wide angle, and the little girl was just in the front of the camera, I'm just behind her. So, and I took this picture, but a lot of people have been asking me, but Nadia, this picture is very like, it's, you see those women, you see really a private and very intimate place. How you can show this picture? But for me, it's really an intimate place. But at the same time, you don't recognize people. This is where, for me, it's really important to show. But at the same time, to not trahir. I don't know how you say that. Betrayed the people, All those pictures I made in Algeria. And this is another picture that I can talk about because this was a summertime, a really, really hot summer. It was around like almost 11 o'clock, just close to the curfew, but it was hot and the woman wanted to go to the beach to swim. And actually there is this picture that I never show because I have this picture of this woman just laying down on the water, and she's really dressed and really laying down on the water for like, she spent like half an hour, just in the calm, and suddenly we heard a weapon just shooting. So, and all the women were sitting on the beach, you know, with me, just called this woman to ask her to get out of the water and to go back home, you know. We didn't know what it was, but this is a picture that I took. They were wet, completely wet under their dress. And this is the picture I took when we were going back home just before the curfew.
I think we have to stop here.
Oh, sorry.
Much time.
Sorry.
We have some time for questions.
Okay, okay, sorry. But I show the picture.
Okay,
I'm not
go
talking,
ahead,
but
go
I
ahead.
show the
Yes,
picture.
okay. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, this is Palestine. Palestine, I went there very quickly. I went there when Arafat came back. This is Bosnia. It's a project that I did on Srebrenica. I was there. I was working on the consequences of war in Bosnia women, and especially during the Srebrenica. This is, we talk about now, you know, a lot, is the Rohingyas, you know, those Muslim people who got kicked out from Burma and goes to Bangladesh. This is Iran. This is Malaysia. A police school. Okay, sorry.
Bien, bueno, pues Nadia Benchallal ha mostrado un conjunto amplio de fotografías, algunas de las cuales están en la exposición que podéis ver dentro de un rato en la sala, en la Galería 1. Y en el caso de Rula Halawani, ella ha preferido mostrar otras obras que en cambio no están expuestas aquí en el IVAM, ¿no? Yo quería hacer una, bueno, no sé si es una pregunta o un comentario a Nadia Benchallal, ¿no? Porque, sobre todo con respecto a las fotografías de la etapa argelina, de los 90, ¿no? Porque aunque la guerra está presente y algunas imágenes habéis visto que hay claras representaciones de la policía y demás, pero ella sobre todo opta por mostrar la cotidianidad, digamos, o parte de la cotidianidad de las mujeres, ¿no? En estos tiempos tan duros, ¿no? Hay una especie como de micropolítica de lo cotidiano frente a lo macropolítico que podría ser la guerra. No sé si he entendido bien tu obra, ¿no? Y si esta es un poco la intención, ¿no? Digamos, insistir en lo cotidiano, mostrar lo cotidiano.
Yes, I did. The most important things in this project, you know, it was for me to try to understand what was this resistance, you know. I went there because I had a question. It was a question about my own personal history. My parents came from Berber region, and they moved to France. Algeria was French. So during this period, you know, I didn't know that I will enter a conflict. You know, I didn't know that Algeria will be entering a conflict of 10 years with attack, terrorists, with explosion all over the places, with people who were dying, you know, I didn't know. So for me, I was pushed into the houses, you know, in a way, to tell the story from a different perspective. Did I answer to your question?
Bueno, ahora le voy a hacer una pregunta a Rula y después os doy paso a vosotros y vosotras, ¿no? Bueno, habéis visto las primeras fotografías que nos ha enseñado en la etapa en la que ella desarrollaba un trabajo fotoperiodístico, son muy distintas a las fotografías que que ha mostrado a continuación, ¿no? Entonces, las primeras no solamente son en color, ¿no? El resto, digamos, la de la serie fundamentalmente de Irrational no lo son, ¿no? Pero sobre todo yo creo que aquí lo que me interesaba es cómo ella ha cambiado del dolor en las personas al dolor en la tierra, el dolor a las heridas, la fractura en la tierra. Estamos hablando de Palestina, y donde la tierra o falta de tierra por la ocupación israelí es clave, ¿no? De hecho, esto también está presente en algunas de las fotografías que podéis ver abajo, ¿no? Entonces, me interesaba un poco conocer su opinión, ¿no? Realmente, cómo pudo moverse de esta relación con la gente que está tan presente en las primeras fotografías en color, a trabajar sobre el paisaje, sobre la tierra, que también sufre las heridas, ¿no?
Well, it's true, like in my recent projects, like most of them, you don't see people in the photographs, but to me, they are there. And at the same time, they talk about like how my society vanishes slowly and people are not aware. About the color and the black and white, I still shoot color. I didn't show color, but it's true. Mostly I shoot nowadays black and white. I feel black and white like goes more with the stories I'm choosing. Like many times I started like the pictures, and the pictures are shot with color. I took them with color, but I removed the colors because it's much stronger, like that series worked as black and white.
Bueno, pues si queréis hacer algún tipo de pregunta, observación, comentario, adelante. Creo que todavía tenemos algo de tiempo, creo que todavía nos dan permiso. Sí, ahí creo que...
Hola, buenas noches. Me extraña que no haya hecho ninguna referencia, con todo lo que ha comentado, al papel hipócrita o al papel incluso indiferencia de las Naciones Unidas en todo este asunto.
You asking the question
To Rula, I think.
to Rula?
What do you mean? I don't understand. What do my pictures have to do with the United Nations?
En las fotografías no, pero en el problema sí.
I think he's trying to say that the United Nations is playing a very hypocritical role, you know, in regards with Palestine. But this is nothing that can be seen in your work, you know. It's not about your work, it's more about politics.
Yeah, well, okay, let me clarify. Like, my pictures is, like, they are stories about me and my people. You know, and like, I experience a situation, I live a situation, and I unfold it in a project as a story. So I don't know, like, the other, it's not important to me, I guess.
Bueno, pues más preguntas. ¿Alguien ha levantado la mano? Espera un momento que te den el micro, por favor.
Well, I would like to clarify something. I'm not a politician. I am just a person who lived a situation and experienced a life. And I like to tell my story and the story of my people that I see in front of me. You know, that's all. But the other side of politics is, you know, like, I hate politics. I hate politicians, you know. Like, to me, like our world would be better if we had better politicians. But unfortunately, we don't. So.
Yo le quería hacer una pregunta a Nadia, si es esa visión del Magreb, de los países árabes, incluso de Bosnia, Y le quería preguntar si es una decisión haberse parado en Malasia y no haber seguido quizás, y que es el país musulmán más grande, que es Indonesia, si es una decisión, digamos, personal de no haber ido a Indonesia o de no haber ido a los nuevos países que nacieron del comunismo, después del comunismo, con, digamos que la problemática de una mujer musulmana después del comunismo es completamente diferente a una bereber o a una de Malasia. E Indonesia, Azerbaiyán no los toca, es una decisión personal. Esa es mi pregunta.
No, it's not a personal decision, it's a money decision. I would love to go to Indonesia, but the project is work in project, you know, and I've been working to almost 8 countries now, including France, you know, with the Muslim community there and women. But the project is so huge, you know. I mean, you can't talk about Indonesia, and I know Indonesia is one of the big country, the big Muslim country, but also all the Uzbekistan, you know, all this region, you know, of the east and Turkey, and I wish I could go back to the Rohingyas also, you know. There is many possibilities. So I'm looking for money still.
Sí, creo que tenemos tiempo para otra pregunta. Ahí al fondo.
Hola, buenas. Era para las dos. La pregunta es que en el mundo del fotoperiodismo la mayoría de personas son hombres. Entonces, un poco a colación del título que habla de narraciones femeninas, quería si podíais hacer una reflexión de cómo creéis que vuestra narración y vuestro discurso a través de las imágenes tiene un valor añadido al ser mujeres. Y luego también, como en vuestra carrera, el hecho de ser mujeres, quería preguntaros si el hecho de ser mujeres os ha favorecido a la hora de contar historias sobre mujeres, os ha puesto trabas a la hora de acceder a según qué sitios por ser mujeres. Y luego quería saber también si vosotras, o sea, cómo os planteáis vuestro trabajo. ¿Os planificáis toda la producción antes de lo que queréis contar, de qué queréis tomar, qué fotografía queréis tomar? ¿Quiero esto y lo busco? ¿O vais allí un poco con la mente abierta de un poco cómo os planificáis? Y muchas gracias.
Alors, for me, there is no photography. I cannot. I'm part of jury, you know, sometimes, photo jury, and I cannot see if the picture or the photograph have been made by a man or a woman first. For your second question, you know, I think, I forgot the question, I'm sorry. Sorry. The second question was...
If you prepare your work beforehand.
Yes, I do. But the thing is, I do prepare, you know, you get information, you get connected to people who have been going to the country, journalists, humanitarian organization, people on the ground who's working on the matter. So you, scientist or researcher or anthropologist, yes, you're reading a lot of things and you're preparing your project before. But the thing is, often it happened to me when you are on the spot, the reality is just like something else, you know. And often when I work with the magazines, you know, they ask me to do that story and they want me to bring in more and more. It's like this. They want me to, they have a precious, special idea about what the story should be. But sometimes you find yourself into the field and the story is not the one that we have been, that the people in the newspaper or magazine have been telling you. The reality is much more difficult or sometimes much more interesting. Did I answer to your question?
It's a question for both of you.
You have to answer.
Sorry. Sorry, I didn't sleep last night, so I missed that part. Do I plan my projects? Actually, mostly my projects come to me. I live a situation, I experience it, and then I decide I want to do this story. You know, like the settlements, you know, once I was driving where I teach in the West Bank at Birzeit University, I saw a new post for a new settlement. So I decided to do a project about settlements. And for the irrational, that was the irrational. I mean, for my father, me and my siblings went on a trip up north, and then we were arguing about like where we used to play and where we used to camp. You know, it's far away from Jerusalem, and we couldn't figure out, you know, because there was so much changes. So I decided I want to do something about the changes. And The Bride is Beautiful, the same. You know, I told you, I explained how I saw on the news about the two incidents. So my projects, like, I don't plan them. They come to me. But I always, you know, keep my eyes and ears open, you know, like to what I see and to what I witness. And, you know, I decide to do story.
Molt bé, doncs moltes gràcies, Rula i Nadia, per haver vingut a València, i ara us convido a veure l'exposició. Moltes gràcies per haver vingut.
Thank you.